Hello, everybody, and welcome to the May 2022 edition of Post Puroresu. I am John Pollock, reunited with WH Park. WH, it is great to chat with you. I feel it's been a while since you and I have got to sit down and do one of these.
Maybe 2 months, maybe.
Wow,
Maybe
it
more.
feels that's like 5 years in pro
It does.
wrestling length. We've gone through many championship vacations. We have gone through COVID issues, Booker regimes,
Hmm.
unhappy top talent with promotions. We're gonna cover the gamut on today's show.
And top and unhappiness with top ProRes podcasters. Just kidding. There's the ebbs and flows of Japanese pro wrestling, and I'm here to follow all of it, John.
Well,
Good or
we
bad.
always know WH Park is disgruntled at his core, but that is why everyone is tuning in to get your thoughts on so many different subjects. So let's dive right into things. I wanted to start off. We'll make our way through everything. I thought of just leading off with NOSAWA Rongai, but I think we need to work up to that because I know that is what everyone is tuning in to hear about. But we will start off in New Japan Pro Wrestling with Kota Ibushi, and we've covered this on the Daily News Show. We're not going to go into all of the specifics once again, but I sort of just wanted some of your thoughts, WH, on number one, the fact that Kota Ibushi went public with this and just sort of frame it for the non-Japanese audience out there of just like, is this a bridge too far in your estimation? That can these parties get back on track after this, or is this just a bridge too far that you expect that they're gonna eventually go their separate ways?
I don't know. You can't say never in wrestling, John. Either like he's going to stay or he's going to go. Um, I think for him to come back, like they have to get rid of um, Mr. Kikuchi, the guy that he has the most contentious issues with, relating back to when the guy was head of the merchandising department in New Japan, and then he got let go because of various things, including the unhappiness of Ibushi complaining to the Harold May office when Harold May was president of the company, and that Kota Ibushi went public with this just got a lot of response I think within the pro res community among wrestlers, because they look at Kota Ibushi and they think, hey, you can't be airing this kind of information, or what they call dirty laundry out in the public like this. It's one thing if you have a beef with the guy, you want to say, I don't agree with you, I don't like the way you talk to me and things like that. But when you start talking about like people like having extramarital affairs, when you start talking about the yakuza, it's really serious. And like, I can't imagine too many companies, if he leaves New Japan, that are going to risk having someone who has always kind of marched to the beat of his own drum. And if you ever look at the history of Kota Ibushi and his career and like his personality, he's a very unique person who has a very unique point of view about life and on pro wrestling. And if I'm the head of, like, say for example, I'm the head of CyberFight, and I see this guy saying all these things about New Japan and Bushiroad, and he says, I want to come back to DDT.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that there's like some hesitation. It's not immediate. Yes, we'll take you back for sure. I think there's like, okay, but can we trust this guy with any information? If they take him back, it's probably going to be very, arm's length. Like, don't talk, don't reveal too much to this guy. He can't know too much about our business, because who knows what he'll say if he gets disgruntled with us. I think there is a definite possibility that he could repair the relationship with New Japan. It depends like how important Kikuchi is to the President Obari and the rest of the New Japan office, and like how much support he would gain from, like Kikuchi would gain from the rest of the locker room. There seems to be, according to like a report from Voice of Wrestling, that there's half the roster doesn't like him for various reasons, and then there's another half that does like him, that's very very tight with him. And so it depends which side is stronger and how many people want Ibushi back in New Japan, because I would think that there's probably an element of the locker room in New Japan Pro Wrestling that does not want Kota Ibushi coming back, because he's, like, if he says this about, for example, Taka Michinoku and Taichi, what's he going to say about me if he has a problem with me down the line? So it's an interesting, like situation because like I think it's apparently it stems from this appearance that Kota Ibushi did for the Just Tap Out promotion that was unauthorized by Kikuchi and the New Japan office, but then there is seemingly this heat between Taka Michinoku and Kota Ibushi, and then like when did that arise? Was it before? Because like Taka Michinoku is the head of Just Tap Out, so I was always confused.
And it's not like New Japan has no affiliation with Just Tap Out either. It's like they have sent people there in the past. It's not like it's this promotion that we do not touch or something. Like there is, you do see like New Japan involvement every now and then.
I think the thing that I get out of like from all the information I've read about this is that Ibushi has like just like a lot of issues with Kikuchi, stemming from like monies he feels he was left out of with the Golden Elite era of his career, and then the way this guy comes back and like just the way I read it and what I can infer or what I do infer from this from the information I read is that the Kikuchi is like really taking it out on him as much as possible because he feels it seems like maybe seemingly Ibushi got him fired in the first place, and then he finally came back because of the influence of like certain people on the booking regime now, and then he's just like telling Ibushi, you can't come back for the match with Shingo, but we want you back by Dominion, but my shoulder's not healed, and all this other things that have come to light, and it's really interesting in the sense like Ibushi going like leaving New Japan and being available to become a roster member somewhere else is like, okay. I mean, he would boost like the image of any, like just from a pure wrestling standpoint, like boost the image of any roster he joined. But again, like what are there companies that be like thinking twice because of like, he's airing dirty laundry to the public?
Yeah. And that's how it's kind of curious because I think if we look at it from the North American perspective, a top end star that is on the outs with a company, you would just be lining up if you are another promotion to grab this star. And I'm just kind of curious, like amongst other promotions that, yeah, in theory, they would love to have this person. Is this kind of a negative stigma of him airing all of this dirty laundry? And, it does bring up a larger question about Kota Ibushi, who just this weekend, he is going to turn 40 years old, and kind of just downplayed in this story is the state of his shoulder. Like he's saying he can lift like 90 pounds right now, and that he's like a fraction of 100% of his health. And to me, like that shoulder injury occurred back in October is, just the physical health for Kota Ibushi as well. And what a next stage of his career would look like if New Japan is not part of it.
I don't know. I can see him. The other thing is who can afford it. Like I would imagine, like anywhere he goes, it's like, well,
if that's a factor, I don't think Japan is even an option at that point, and that gets into the discussion of if Kota Ibushi is looking to go abroad, and now you have, an AEW in theory looks like a great landing spot, but they are in this, it's the highest the relationship has ever been with New Japan. It gets very tricky for Kota Ibushi if he is looking elsewhere, and money is a factor because I don't think he's going to see anything in Japan approximating what a New Japan salary is going to provide for him.
Well, I mean, the only one I could think of would be like going to Pro Wrestling Noah or DDT because it's owned by CyberFight, and they have a lot more money. They're a bigger company than Bushiroad is. But the thing is like they're losing money. They're losing money in Noah. They're losing that. I don't know if they're necessarily losing money on DDT, but they're not necessarily generating a lot of profit with DDT, maybe from my understanding. And can they upset their pay scale?
Yes. What is earmarked for the wrestling division of Cyber Agent? That they are allocating for Noah. That, I mean that's. It's like a fascinating dynamic at play that it seems to be, things got very quiet this week. There has been no update regarding the status of Kota Ibushi, which means, he is, as of now, still with the company. And maybe there is the hope that this is cooler heads will prevail. I think for New Japan, it would be in their best interest, but maybe things have gone too far. Like I could see many companies that just, I don't care how big of a star this is, untenable for us to work with this individual any longer.
If he went to Noah, John, he's too young to become a star there. By the way, 40 years old. So.
Well, in time, he could be their prospect. But anyway, it's a major story to follow, and we will see what happens next with Kota Ibushi. Obviously, I think this erases any hopes people may have had of when the G1 announcement comes. Like probably no Kota Ibushi involved in this year's G1, which is a big hit to that tournament. I think if you were to go back to last October, I think most were expecting he'd be back by Dome time in January, and here we are in May, and it's very likely he will not be back anytime soon.
Yeah, I will say this, John. Like, if he keeps talking about the Yakuza in relation to New Japan more, I think that's it. Like, that's it for him with that company, because mentioning organized crime in relation to like a legitimate company is very dangerous, and people should realize. Like, I think it was in 2012, like with Pro Wrestling Noah, they had there was a book released by one of their former roster members, Jun Izumida, and he alluded that there was a lot of like Yakuza ties with the company in the early 2000s, and it killed their TV deal. It like made a lot of fans not want to go to their shows for a long time, coupled with like the death of Misawa and a lot of other things. It's not a good thing, and like I think a lot of people in Bushiroad would be like looking at Noah, and also like Pride Fighting Championship, like the ties that they allegedly had with
that was the end of Pride. Like that lost their TV deal, and in effect like killed the company.
So it's a serious thing. Like, people might not put too much, it's because he's like talking about people, like the Cheaters Club or whatever he wants to call it. No, the more serious thing, if he keeps on talking about it, is like, and that's going to like just really, I think, end the relationship with New Japan, is if he keeps talking about organized crime in relation to New Japan Pro Wrestling, because they would take that very, very, very seriously.
We're going to move on over. The Best of the Super Juniors tournament has begun, and amazingly, after 4 shows, I am all caught up. I've caught all of the tournament matches thus far, WH. After 4 days, we have on the A block side, Ace Austin, Hiromu Takahashi, Alex Zane, and Taiji Ishimori tied with 4 points, followed by Francesco Akira and Yo with 2. And then at the bottom is Sho, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Clark Connors with none. On the B block side, Phantasmo and Desperado have 4 points apiece. Doki, Robbie Eagles, TJP, Wheeler, Yuta, and El Lindemann, as well as Bushi with 2 points, and Titan and Master Wato with 0. Have you followed any of the Best of the Super Juniors yet?
I've just watched day one, John. My interest with the initial announcement of like a lot of the foreign talent coming in was like, it really freshens things up. But then as I'm watching this, the first show, and then I'm looking at some of the talent on like that, that the established talent, the established Japanese talent who's been there for the pandemic. I'm like, I really have little to no interest in Ryusuke Taguchi. I have little to no interest in El Phantasmo, and some of these other people. Like Hiromu Takahashi is like, he has great matches when he's on, but as a character, I just feel he's kind of stagnant, and I don't really find him so compelling anymore. So it's not really something I get excited about. Like after watching the first show, I will try to keep up, because there are people in there that whose work I've really been enjoying when I catch them. Is that one is like El Desperado. I think such an unsung hero of 2022 New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm very excited.
And he's got a lot of main events on in his block throughout. Like, he may not be holding the title, but they are certainly positioning this tournament around Desperado as kind of like the guy, along with Hiromu.
Very rightly so, I think, because like I imagine they're gonna eventually move Hiromu back like into the heavyweight division, and I think Desperado could probably join him there, because he has the charisma, and he could just he doesn't need much to bulk up to be a legit heavyweight in that company. But I'm very excited about El Lindemann, one of my favorites right now. And just, you see him in the press conference, John?
Oh, dude, his speech was great. I mean, at
amazing.
The end, and then you had El Phantasmo. Come on, guys, that was a good promo. If you have not seen this, El Lindemann, and it's subtitled in the video I watched, just gets up there and he's talking about the fact, I got turned down. They didn't even look at me when I tried to apply to the New Japan Dojo, and now they're inviting me into this tournament.
Right.
I'm representing everyone outside of New Japan, and this tournament, I'm putting a spotlight on all the great wrestling that's happening outside of New Japan. This world is not. This was such a WH Park promo that there's more to Japanese wrestling than New Japan, and I'm here to prove it. It was such a great speech that he gave.
He's a great promo. If you just watch his stuff in other companies like in Gleed, he's just so energetic and just a great talker, has a great tone. I just love that he's like, El Desperado, thank you for talking about me all the time. And El Desperado just like kisses his way. He's just fantastic promo. But I gotta say, they did him fucking dirty, John. They had him lose to fucking Daoki before his fucking G-Rex like title match against Shigehiro Ire on the Gleed show the next day. That's bullshit. Like, because the next day
he won today. He did beat Teton, so
they couldn't flip that. Like, fucking bullshit. You think New Japan doesn't know what the fuck they're doing? They know exactly what they're doing. That fucking Dick Togo, he's a nefarious man. I have to say.
I will say so far, like watching all the tournament matches so far, Wheeler Yuta, I think is going to have a really good tournament. El Lindemann, I think, has stood out. I'm a huge fan of Robbie Eagles. I think he's a tremendous junior heavyweight. And Clark Connors as well over in Japan now, getting that chance because he was really slowed down by the pandemic as well. They've got like an interesting mixture of names so far. I wouldn't say the tournament has produced like that, man, go out of your way to see type of match yet, but it's all been like a pretty consistent wrestling each day so far, and I think that there's a lot of interesting combinations to come. It runs until June the 3rd, and then presumably the winner will be challenging Taiji Ishimori at Dominion. And I guess a lot of focus, you mentioned about Hiromu potentially one day going up to the heavyweight division. Since we last spoke, Kushida has left WWE, and most are expecting him back imminently in New Japan. Is that your expectation? And if so, will it be heavyweight Kushida coming back to New Japan Pro Wrestling?
I don't think so. I think it'll be junior heavyweight Kushida because, I think if they wanted to do that, they would have pushed him before he left as a way to keep him.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Yeah, that
was one of the things he wanted to do. I can't imagine.
How interested are you in just Kushida right now? Like this, I think, let's be honest, it was to me a failed run in WWE, and I don't think you can really. It just, sometimes you take a chance and you hope for the best. And he went at a time when he was hurt by injuries, number one, and then the brand completely changed, and he was it turned out to be key years of his career that were gone, and now he is coming back. Is he coming back as a diminished property, or do you feel that it's something that he will be able to turn this around after what had to be several frustrating years for him?
I think he can probably receive a very warm welcome from the New Japan fans, and if they handle his return right and push him very heavily in the junior division. I personally would love to see him go somewhere else to freshen his career up. I think he's done everything he can in New Japan. I would love to see him in say All Japan. I think he'd be a great addition. And I can see them saying, okay, he's a former WWE star, NXT star, and we'll if you want to be a heavyweight, you can be a heavyweight here. They push fucking Tajiri as a heavyweight. That guy's about as much of a heavyweight as I am a fucking Rhodes Scholar. You know what I'm saying, John? So Kushida goes, I want to be a heavyweight, and All Japan says, or hey, come over here, we'll make you heavyweight, we'll push you like that. I think that would be far more interesting than him going back to New Japan.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, because Dominion, you would think we're going to get probably all the participants for the G1. It's a real easy way to introduce him, because it would just seem like if he is coming back as a junior heavyweight, it's almost like, what's the point of doing it now? He's not in the juniors tournament. And then you're into G1 season. So
yeah,
he's just going to be on undercards. We will see. The G1, they have put out all the dates. It starts July 16th. So we're back to the summer months with an August finish, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at WH's favorite venue in the heated months of August, Sumo Hall.
That's right. The Sweatbox.
The Sweatbox. So in theory, they should hopefully have a bit of a replenished lineup, but I guess always temper expectations when it comes to what the field is going to look like. But I would say I would imagine at least some AEW involvement here, and we will see if they get creative with any other, whether it be freelancers or anything else. But I have learned over the years that wild creative ideas, let's rein them in, and maybe what we'll get at least a little bit of new blood. And if anything, I do feel like New Japan Strong, that talent would also be like a breath of fresh air in some of these blocks. Like, I don't need to ever see Yujiro in the G1 ever again. So I'm more than happy if we can get some new blood into the G1.
I would assume that if it's agreeable with AEW that Jon Moxley is campaigning to go into the G1 again. I'm sure he would love to do it. I would imagine Bryan Danielson is another person who would love to finally have it on his resume that I did a G1, and and I think either of those guys would go very far. I don't know if they would make the finals, but I think they'd be within the final four of the tournament going through. I just I'm worried about certain names being announced just because I have no interest in watching them, and it would diminish my enjoyment of possibly watching the G1. But I hope there's a lot of fresh talent within Japan that comes in. If they want to pursue this relationship with Glee, for example, bring in some of those guys. They're fucking great, John. I'm not talking about Lindemann. He's not going to be in the G1, even though he's the top guy in Glee. He's their champion. But I'm talking about T-Hawk. I'm talking about Takanori Ito. People like that.
I have heard that this match that just took place on their show yesterday with Hiroki Goto and Hayato Tamura was phenomenal. I've not seen the match yet, but I mean, can you talk at all about Hayato Tamura? Have you seen much of him?
Yeah, I've seen a bit. He's one of the really push guys in Glee, and rightly so, because he's just he has so much going for him. Charismatic, he's a good wrestler, amazing physical presence. If he was in the G1, I think he would turn a lot of heads and get people on board with not only with him, but with the company in general, which would be the point of sending him to the G1. Even if he doesn't win a lot of matches or gain a lot of points, I don't think they would chop him out instead be insulting to the company by just jobbing him out and getting 0 points. I think he gets some key wins here and there. But yeah, Tamura is just someone along with Ito and so many of their other guys like Kawakami and T-Hawk are just guys who work in that company that are people should go out and seek out. The great thing about Glee is no pun intended is that it's all on YouTube. It's free. You can just catch their shows archived or live. And it's just so easy to watch. And they do actually try to cater to a Western audience to some degree by trying to subtitle some stuff here and there. But I think it's very easy to follow that. If you don't want to pay for another subscription service, which I'm sure is taxing on a lot of people out there, it's all on YouTube for the moment for free. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon unless they become a bigger company and they think, okay, we can actually monetize this by creating our own streaming service. But it's all on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean it's a really easy to follow product if you're looking for it, and you're getting the odd crossover now with New Japan and Lindemann. I mean, he's doing the tournament and then he's headlining this show as well. This guy's all over the place.
He's awesome, John. Let me say, I'm this El Lindemann promo of the year, wrestler of the year, possibly. I mean, he had a great final couple of matches to get that title. So yeah.
We fast forward. Dominion is going to be on June the 12th, and then after that is the Forbidden Door show, everyone's favorite title of a card. June the 26th in Chicago at the United Center. They have opened up more tickets for the show. It is. Were you surprised at all to the response when it came to tickets at the United Center?
No.
That the demand for this show was going to be so high.
No, because I did try to get tickets, John. Me and Mike Murray. We're trying to get tickets, and then we secured a pre-sale code that did not end up working, probably because Tony heard that I got this code and he fucked me.
Wow. How about now? Are you going to continue to try, or has the door has been locked?
I said to Mike, he was like, you know what? I'm going to get the best seat in the house, your couch, and we're gonna order food, or he's gonna maybe make some barbecue.
Oh, well, that's not a bad second option.
No, he's very good at the barbecue. So
all right, I will have to take him up on that at some point. Let's move on over to Pro Wrestling Noah, the state of Noah. So since we have last spoken, Nosawa Rongai is out as Booker. Kendo Kashin in. WH, what is going on in Noah? That's the most open-ended question. And is this a good move booking wise? I mean, you have been very outspoken about Nosawa Rongai. Do you have any idea about Kendo Kashin having any more success or any kind of historical reference of Kendo Kashin's style that might be implemented?
All you need to know about Kendo Kashin as the new booker of Pro Wrestling Noah is that he is, he has the same origins as Fujita, as Muto, as all these fucking Inoki Genome Federation fucks, and it's just going to be more of the same. It might, you know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, John. It might actually be even worse because Rongai was just a spineless mark and just like yes, Mr. Muto, I will put you over, no problem. Mr. Fujita, you don't want a job to Nakajima or anyone else? Sure, no problem. Where Kendo Kashin is like, hey, who wants to be the GHC champion? Muto, do you want to be the GHC champion this month? And then, we'll give it to Fujita the month after. Hey, how about Go Shiozaki? I'm not friends with that guy. How about Nakajima? I'm not friends with that guy. So no, I really think it's like, what do they call it, John? A lateral move? This is a lateral move. Might actually even be fucking worse, which is hard to believe. But, time will tell. Because Fujita and Muto, both are coming back. And for all you true-born Noah fans who have been with the company for a long time, and love all your true-borns and people who've been loyal to this company. I hate to tell you this. I truly do. I don't take any joy in saying any of this, John. I really don't. But your favorites are going to get royally screwed by Kendo Kashin. Mark my words. And usually, when it comes to Pro Wrestling Noah and the booking, I'm usually right. So, but with Nosawa, it apparently was just like CyberFight took a look at the books and said, hey, what's going on with all these like dudes you're booking? What's with this all junior show at Sumo Hall? And then my favorite part of this whole story, John, is that he went after he was like not renewed. He was fired. After he was not renewed, he said, I'm going to start a new all Lucha promotion and I've already got a money mark for it. And if that's true, John, I hope it succeeds because that means he's probably not going to book any promotion that I want to watch.
Well, Kazuki Fujita vacated the title after coming down with COVID, and now they had set up Go Shiozaki, who has now once again become the GHC champion, defeating Kaito Kiyomiya, this poor guy who just can't catch a break. But they did have a hell of a match together, and going into the summer, it looks like a lot is going to be structured around the return of Keiji Muto, who is back this weekend, teaming with Marufuji, and the incoming Satoshi Kojima, who seems to be the new toy at Pro Wrestling Noah. He is going to be the one challenging Go Shiozaki on June 12th at the CyberFight Festival. Do you like Satoshi Kojima in this new light? And what does Kojima add to Noah at this stage?
I think it's a good move for the most part, because I think Kojima is one of those guys of his generation that can still go. He didn't really do much recently in New Japan, and to that extent, he hasn't really accumulated any like new injuries or anything like that. So I've always liked Kojima. So I loved it when he was in All Japan. I loved it when he went back to New Japan. I think this is really a fresh,
like Nagata, like they have shown, like when they are called upon, these guys can go. Not at their prime, but I have no issue that Kojima and Go should have a tremendous match. And I mean, if the other option was just multi-man tags underneath on New Japan, like I think Kojima will be someone that can at least hang with these other guys and fits in a logical way. On top of this is also the reunion of Muto, Kojima, and Kendo Kashin, the three that famously exited to join All Japan 20 years ago.
Yeah, and ironically, to escape the Nokiaism, John.
Well, Well, everything
now they're part of
around.
now at least for Kendo Kashin, Muto, they're all part of the Inokiism movement in Pro Wrestling Noah. But with Kojima, I think what's great about this match with Go Shiozaki is that both guys are heavily influenced by Kendo Kobashi. Both use the lariat as a finisher, as a big move, and I'm excited about this match. I think it's very likely. I'm not gonna say it's 100% guaranteed, but I think it's very likely Kojima will win. I think it's very likely Kojima will be part of that grand slam of IWGP champion, Triple Crown champion, and GHC Heavyweight Champion. That it's him, Muto, Sasaki, and Takayama are so right now it's only Muto, Takayama, and Kensuke Sasaki. I think Kojima is going to join that club, and it'll be a nice exclamation point on a great career if that has happened. And I'm for it because I do think the plan is probably Muto was recently just said I'm just maybe I just sneak in and get the pin on Go and jump ahead of Kojima to get the title match, which to me I think he's just trolling all his detractors. And hey, more power to him if he wants to do that. But I think there's some kernel of possibility that he could do that. But I think the match they want to do is Muto versus Kojima for that GHC title. And then probably more than likely than not that it's going to be Muto versus Fujita with Muto being the champion down the line, because insanely they think that's going to be a money drawing match. It's not going to be. So
it's very interesting. Like it is. I don't discount that nostalgia can work in very small bursts, but when it becomes the focus, and this very much feels like it is the focus, I think the proof is in the pudding. And when you look at what I would deem as the core of Noah at this moment, and I'm looking at Go Shiozaki, Katsuhiko Nakajima, Keno, and Kaito Kiyomiya as well. You could certainly include him in there. And it just seems the four of those, what is your confidence in how they are going to navigate the rest of this year, 2023? Is this going to be I've seen with Kiyomiya, and it just seems he is on very tenuous ground, because there was the long time where his time is coming, and I feel we're right in the midst of what should be his time, and it was greatly compromised by the Muto program, and I just don't know where he is going to fit in all of this. It does feel like those four seem to be they are in a company that has drastically changed around them over the last year.
Yeah, I Shiozaki. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's pretty much going to retire in Pro Wrestling Noah, and considering the the accumulation of injuries, especially his shoulder, I don't think he has much time left in ring. And I hate to say that because I really think he's a great wrestler, but reality is that he still does the chops, which don't help that shoulder. But with Kiyomiya, there's a lot of unrest from what I understand in Pro Wrestling Noah, among the guys who are what we call true-borns, and people who've been loyal with the company for a long time. My feeling is that if Kiyomiya doesn't get the push, and a sustained push, not just okay, you're going to be a transition champ to one of Rongai or Kendo Kashin's buddies, then if I'm him, I'm leaving. I say to CyberFight, hey, transfer me to DDT then. At least let me wrestle there. Because company loyalty only goes so far, because this company doesn't necessarily resemble the company that he joined when he was when he first got into the dojo. And guys like Keno and Nakajima aren't trueborns. I can see them pulling up their stakes and going somewhere else. And if they end up taking all of Congo with them, that's great for another company. I kind of think the possibility of what happened with Burning, Go Shiozaki, Akiyama, Aoki, Kanemaru, and Suzuki, they didn't like how Noah was treating Kenta Kobashi, so they didn't renew their contracts, and they jumped to All Japan. I can see Congo, like Nakajima especially, just saying, I don't want anything to do with this company anymore. You guys don't respect me. You don't respect the contributions I've made to this company. And like him, and he can go anywhere, John. He can go to New Japan and they'll push him. He can go to All Japan, like anywhere, and they will push him like the star that he is. And he's been doing this for a long time, and he's made himself a star, like out of the shadow of his mentor Kensuke Sasaki. So, and I can see Keno leaving too, because he's not a Noah guy. He came in from Michinoku Pro. So we'll see. I think it's really fascinating to see like where some of these guys who were getting a push and not getting any sustained push anymore, where what they're going to do like when contract time comes up.
Yeah, and what available spots are out there as well. Like you've got a pretty bloated New Japan as well, where I mean they now have the potential of foreigners coming back as well. It's a very interesting time in Noah, and Noah is loading up on a lot of foreigners too. Some that will be part of the CyberFight Festival. We won't go through this 14 match card headlined by Shiozaki and Kojima. You've also got Keno against Daisuke Sasaki. The Princess of Princess Championship will be defended by Shoko Nakajima against Yuka Sakazaki, and then Tetsuya Endo, Jun Akiyama, and Kazusada Higuchi taking on Naomichi Marufuji, Atsushi Kotoge, and Yoshiki Inamura. And Rob Van Dam, the person that you have told me privately, that was the missing piece. Rob Van Dam in Noah with Hayata and Yoshinari Ogawa taking on Kaito Kiyomiya, Daisuke Harada, and Yohei. Those are your top 4 matches. A very deep card. In year 2 of the CyberFight Festival, do you think it has accomplished what it has attempted to? This is like their big signature card of the year that they have tried to make it with their multiple companies.
I got to think that this is going to do really well, John. Like, I think it'll probably get a great attendance figure at the box office. But I got to say, like the 3 of the top 4 matches, I don't really give a shit about Daisuke Sasaki. So like Keno can light his boot on fire again and set the dude on fire for all I care. But match 11, Burning, Endo and Akiyama and Higuchi taking on Marufuji, Kotoge, and Inamura. That's the one I'm looking forward to, John.
That looks awesome on paper.
Like Higuchi, I love this guy. Like, I'm not a big DDT watcher, but whenever I see Kazusada Higuchi, he's so awesome. He should be in Noah, like more than DDT, because like I think his future is more as like a straight serious wrestler. But like any interaction he's gonna have with Inamura, like 2 beefy guys just beating the shit out of each other, I'm all for that. So like I'm very much looking forward to that. And the main event, I think if I was in Japan still, John, I would probably go to this show if I could.
And we'll move on to Stardom. They have got their 5-star Grand Prix starting on June the 4th. It's going to be a 26-person field this year, and they have announced most of the names that are going to be involved in this, and then they will still have a couple of spots and a mystery entrant that will be part of it. But you've got Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, Hazuki, and Hanan representing Stars, Azumi, Utami, and Saya Kamatani from Queen's Quest, and then Saki Kashima, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, Julia, Maika, Meika, Natsupoi, Thekla, Tam Nakano, Unagi Sayaka, Mina Shirakawa, Shuri, Mirai, Risa Siri, Suzu Suzuki, and then the rest are going to be determined over the next couple of days in a bunch of qualifying matches. What do you think about the tournament, and do you like the expanded field this year? What's your level of interest for the Grand Prix?
I feel that with the expanded field that they're really trying to make this very much now truly the G1 of Stardom. Like so just making it bigger and more involving not only like pretty much almost all the top stars in the company, but also like people from prominence like Suzu Suzuki. I'm very high on like like I'm not a huge deathmatch wrestler, but I think she's such a talented wrestler in general who happens to do death matches. Like she's just got so much charisma as well. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how well she does in the 5-star Grand Prix. But also like Risa Sera, she's also from prominence. I don't think she'll go very far, but I think she'll have some really good matches with people in her block. And I'm very interested in this, John. I still think Stardom is the best booked company in all of professional wrestling, top to bottom. and they think they're really doing really well with Shuri on top, and just like the recent Golden Week stuff with like Konami coming back to be a member of God's Eye, and I like this new faction that Shuri's created. I think it freshens things up.
How about the name? Is it a buy or sell? Do you like God's Eye?
I like it. It's unique, and like I can't remember exactly the explanation for it right now, but like, yeah, sure, why not? It's like it's no better or worse than like like Donna Del Mundo or Cosmic Angels or anything like that. I think it's really cool. It's better than the like the shit I have to sometimes deal with like watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. So this is like, to me, like, I think if they can get a lot of people coming to their shows for this, and I imagine like they're gonna do very, very well on this tour, like that they're gonna expand it even more in the sense of like what kind of venues they run next year. I think this is the test of like, can we expand this to maybe run like bigger arenas in the future, and maybe what can we do for the finals? Like, depends on who you get for like your A block winner, your B block winner, and things like that. And I think they really want to replicate the success of the G1 that that New Japan has every year with the Star Grand Prix with Stardom. It is interesting that it's like like they're both in the summer now, and it really tests the limits of like, if you're if I don't know, like there's any things such that exist like a Bushi Road Wrestling fan. I think you can be a fan of both Stardom and New Japan Pro Wrestling, but you got to make a choice sometimes with like which show you want to order on streaming, or which one you want to buy tickets to and travel to go to. For me, it would always be like, if I was there, I'd be like, Stardom over New Japan easily.
Yeah. I think it's a lot when it's they're kind of stacked on top of one another. They've also got their Flashing Champions card at the end of this month on the 28th, and that will feature Shuri and Risa Sera in a no count-out, knockout, and submission match for the World of Stardom Championship. A pretty loaded card here that they have. Saya Kamatani defending the Wonder of Stardom title against Mirai. Azumi against Thekla for the High Speed Championship among the top matches. And Karen Peterson will be doing, actually, she's going to be very busy over the next couple of weeks, because we've got the Hana Kimura tribute show on Monday that's going to be streaming. She'll have a report on that, as well as this Flashing Champions card. It's when it comes to Stardom, and you mentioned like bigger venues, do you think that Stardom will be looking, and do you think it could be successful with this higher profile they've acquired of the idea of running any shows in the US, or do you think that is too ambitious for what Stardom should be looking at as their core business being in Japan?
I think they should just focus on, running like New Japan level buildings. Like, I'm talking about Edion Arena in Osaka. I'm talking about like Oda City War Gymnasium. I'm talking about, Yokohama, Budokan, things like that. That's like, keep what you're doing in Japan. Like, just build it to the point where, I don't know like what the demand is in the United States for Stardom, to be honest with you. Like, I really don't like, I still think there's like a barrier against women's wrestling, all women's wrestling in the United States. And I think this would do well in like, I don't know, like what kind of lineup, like venue size, maybe like 1,000 people, 2,000 people, maybe. Like, I don't think anything bigger than that. And that might be a good way to test the market, but it's something I think, focus on building your business into getting more into bigger buildings and getting a higher profile in Japan. And then everything else will come later. And if you can send people to like different promotions to have, feature matches on like a Ring of Honor card or AEW card or something like that, that's great. And then gauge interest from there.
We mentioned the Hana Kimura tribute show. That's on Monday. There's also going to be a benefit show for Shinjiro Otani coming up on June the 4th. And that's going to feature Takashi Sugiura defending the 0-1 championship against Masato Tanaka. I don't think we've talked about since the Otani injury, but I mean, I talked about when the injury happened. Like, he was among my very first like favorites when it came to looking at those 90s junior heavyweights. A lot of the tapes that you introduced me to as well. It's just such a tragic story involving Otani, and unfortunately, there's really been no update in terms of any progress. He remains paralyzed, and on top of it, as we have seen with like Takayama, mounting medical costs as well are a reality for these performers as well.
So there's a lot of like, fundraising efforts. There's like a special T-shirt that you can get. I think I tweeted it out, but and proceeds go towards Shinjiro Otani's medical bills. There's this benefit show, and I don't know, like you don't hear too much about benefit shows for Takayama recently, probably mainly because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But you would hope that helping him out still is a priority for people in the Japanese professional wrestling scene, but also like helping out Shinjiro Otani. And I definitely think like 0-1. His own promotion are going to do everything they can to try to hold benefit shows, and I would imagine like to some degree like Pro Wrestling Noah is also going to be like, yeah, we're going to do as much as we can to help out, because and there's no blame in this. That was like a freak accident, that injury, but like Takashi Sugiura, like I would imagine like anything he can do, he's gonna try to help raise money. And from my understanding, like watching the match where him and Hideki Suzuki lost the GHC tag titles to Ren Dupree and Dr. Wagner Jr., he looked like he was just like, like it's been weighing on him. So like, I hope he's okay. I really hope he's okay as well. And like, he's not, too mentally distressed about it. Like you worry about situations like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's very well said. The final thing we're going to touch on is DDT's Konosuke Takeshita is over here in the US. Did you get to see his match on Dynamite this week or not yet?
I did not, but I've been seeing like a lot of like clips and stuff on Twitter, and it was like, okay, yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not a huge DDT fan, but like Konosuke Takeshita is like one of those guys. Like if I was going to get into DDT, he'd probably be my gateway, my entry point of someone I would follow very closely in DDT. He's such a great wrestler, and it's amazing like that he's getting this shot. Like he started off in the United States with PWG, because he was a big fan apparently, and that was a big dream for him to wrestle for PWG. We'll probably see that match in about like 6 months time from now, right?
Give or take.
Schedule, yeah. Give or take. But yeah, that he got the shot, and listen, he got the shot because of Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa, right? Because they're DDT dudes, and like if Tony Khan does not like make some kind of like deal with DDT to bring him in, not like full time, but regularly for big shows, for big angles and stuff like that, then I don't know what Tony's doing, besides like screwing me out of tickets for Forbidden Door.
Come on, Tony.
But like, yeah, I think, he opened a lot of eyes apparently, like just the
I think you'd really dig this match, WH. Like to me, it was a real star-making performance for Takeshita, and it was about 12 minutes, but man, it was. We see so much incredible wrestling on a weekly basis that sometimes it's really hard for a match to have a performer break through with. But this was every bit. You could not ask for, to me, a better performance out of the two of them. And it's just hopefully carved out a spot for him in AEW. It is so cluttered there with talent that sometimes you can have a great performance, and then if you don't see someone for 4 weeks, you lose some of that. So hopefully he's figured into some plans, and obviously earmarked for the US for the time being. So he's over here for a long time. But this, he had a few matches on Elevation and such, and one on Rampage, but this was the real coming out party for him on Wednesday night.
I gotta imagine there's like a ton of people on that roster just like saying, I want to match with this guy. I want to match with him on TV. Like, yeah. Like your usual stuff. Probably like Danielson and like Moxley are all like, yeah, I want to wrestle this guy. He's awesome.
It's amazing when you look at, you drop it to Takeshita into that roster, and then you just look up and down the list of just matches you can just throw out there on television next week, and it would be really novel now coming off this performance on Wednesday night. But there you go. We are all up to date now. You are all set. And I want to recommend to everyone the most recent edition of the Long and Winding Royal Road, where WH and Benno, who was able to get through the Forbidden Door, I understand.
Right.
Yes.
Well, he's not the Forbidden Door. I think he's going to Double or Nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up my shows now. Yes, Double or Nothing. Benno or nothing. And
right.
you two recently discussed the Stan Hansen Vader match, a perfect Saturday morning viewing if you're getting up with your coffee to watch those two go at it. A tremendous breakdown of this match from February of 1990 at the Tokyo Dome, when it truly was a forbidden door between New Japan and All Japan, and they made this match come together.
Yeah, the backstory of like All Japan sending talent to this show for New Japan at the Tokyo
Pretty much to
Dome.
save the show, right? Like,
yeah.
So
and then I think I can't remember the timeline. I think like later they did the show New Japan, All Japan, and the WWF.
Of course, yes.
I think that's the one Tenryu versus Randy Savage.
That's right. Yes.
I haven't seen that match in a long time, but just thinking about that, it's like, But it's I had a great time talking with Benno, and it's a great match. Like, and it's really interesting because like to work around the eye injury. Like literally, Stan Hansen knocks Vader's eye out in this match, and it's not for the squeamish. I would just warn you.
No, this is a graphic match. If your stomach will turn watching this, but it's very violent, but it's also got that violent yet compelling aspect to it.
But it's fascinating how they work around it. Like how like obviously this is the point where Vader is like telling Stan Hansen, "Hey, you knocked my eye out. Okay, let's do a rest spot. Let's do an armbar hold." And because it's really weird, but then you realize, this is what happened. But check it out. It's a really fun and next month, John, I have my next guest lined up, and it's we're building up. Eddie Kingston, Benno. But the true main event for this year's episodes is you, John Pollock. You're going to be on the long Mighty Road next month, and it's your first time.
That is true. Do you want to share the match that we are going to be discussing?
We're going to talk about my memories. June 9th, 1996. Kenta Kobashi, Mitsuharu Misawa versus Akira Taue and Toshiaki Kawada. Did I get my date right, John?
I think it was. I think you're right. I'm pulling up. I'm looking this up right now. June 9th. 95 or 96?
96? I said 96. Is I off by a year? I think it's 96.
I think you got it. I pulled up the match here. It does not have the date.
It's considered by many, John, to be the greatest.
It was 95. June 9th, 1995. Misawa and Kobashi against Kawada and Taue. Yes.
It is considered by many to be the greatest tag match of all time. And some even consider it the greatest pro wrestling match of all time. And if you see this match, you'll at least, at the very least, think, man, it's one of the most emotional matches you'll ever see. Like Kenta Kobashi trying to save the life of Mitsuharu Misawa from being mugged by Kawada and Taue in this match is. I don't know it's like watching Up from Pixar. For me, it's like the equivalent. Like I cried at the beginning of Up. I almost cried during like when Kobashi. And we'll talk about this. You and I, we're gonna break down this match and talk about the background and like the history of the Holy Demon Army and the Super Generation Army. And I don't know, like John, we'll save your opinion about this match for that show, but like as people might already guess, it's okay if I say it, but I fucking love this match. I think it's probably my favorite tag match, of all time. It's just four masters of wrestling, just at their peak, just tearing it apart in Budokan Hall. So.
Well, I'm excited to chat more about this match with you. That'll be on next month's edition of The Long and Winding Royal Road, so you can find that on the Post Wrestling feed, or you can go to youtube.com/postwrestling. Check out the most latest edition from this past weekend with WH and Benno going through Stan Hansen and Vader from February of 1990, and subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up, and that is going to wind things down for Post Pro Res. So thanks to everybody for joining, and we will speak with you next month.